But now the most important piece which I want to talk to you is the profiles and tags. So we have AirOS WLC, right? Previous to 9800 series WLC, and there are significant changes when we talk about when we talk about configuration. And believe me, the configuration in 9800 series is way simpler. The UI is very much simple than what we used to have in AirOS. So I have created some of the videos in the hands-on section, UI walkthrough, right? How AP is going to be discovered, how we can see all these profiles, where we can see all these profiles, how these profiles are going to be attached. I have created 4 or 5 videos there. Please have a look at it. But now the whole sole point is, Mr. Vishnu, you must be you have this question. You do not take generally the names of the concept. You first explain the concept and then name it. And this is the right approach also. Do not worry, we will be doing the same thing here. So what do we want to do? We have WLC here, and we are talking about the centralized model, right? In centralized model, we have WLC and we have this access point in local mode. What is the meaning of local mode? The meaning of local mode is when Anjali sends some data, this access point is going to deliver this data to WLC, and then WLC will eventually send this data to its destination. And we have this control cap web, we have this data cap web tunnel. Control is for the control messages between access point and WLC. Now the whole sole point is that we have involved this WLC right here, right? We have involved this WLC right here, and this WLC will be configuring my thousands of access points across my complete organization. But what is going to happen? Do you think that these 1,000 access points are going to have the same configuration? Let's check it. Suppose in my complete organization, I have 1,000 access points, and if I talk about this building, right? And if I talk about this specific ground floor of this building, which is having say 100 access points, it's a huge ground floor. If that is the case, I am saying that on my ground floor, I want to advertise 2 different SSIDs. One is employee and the other one is guest. But on the third floor, I want to, on these 100 APs, I want to advertise only employee SSID. If that is the case, do I need to configure these 100 APs individually? If that is the case, then it's a problem. I can say that I want to create 2 SSIDs on these 100 APs. How I'm going to do this, right? So now I need to think. Just wait a minute, guys. Perfect. Thank you. So the whole sole point now here is I want to know exactly how I am going to do this, how I am going to say that these 100 access points will be having 2 SSIDs and other 100 access points are going to have 1 SSID. Maybe how I'm going to associate a VLAN with these SSIDs, right? Because until and unless you associate a VLAN, then your SSID is not going to make any sense because eventually the traffic is going over the wired network. As simple as that. So we need to think about it, that how this WLC is going to configure all those things. And as I'm saying that the 9800 series WLC has made your configuration simpler, very simple. And that is what I want to prove you in the next board. But please try to think with me, right? I am not going to include anything here with respect to the terminology. I am putting you in a situation. And I would like to thank you that if you were the developer of 9800 series WLC, how you are going to do this? Because if you are into the shoes of the developers, if you try to think why behind these concepts before even understanding these concepts, it is going to be great. So I'm putting you in a situation. Suppose we have Anjali here, our architect, who is designing this network, right? She has WLC, and we have Sports India big building here. For the illustration 6, I have put these 2 access points on the 3rd floor. Maybe this is my access point 1, this is my access point 2. And I have put these 2 access points right here on the ground floor. This is my access point 3 and this is access point 4, as simple as that. And now Anjali has some requirements. Anjali is the developer of this 9800 series, which I want you to think, right? How I'm going to generate or how I'm going to uh, make configuration for other network engineers simple, right? This is the whole sole purpose of this exercise. Point number one, requirement is that the third floor AP should broadcast an SSID, only one SSID, right? And the SSID name is employee. So I am saying when this third floor SSID broadcast and third floor APs broadcast an SSID, its name should be employee. And this SSID should be mapped to VLAN number 10. As simple as that. Similarly, this SSID also. And here is the second requirement. Second requirement says that the ground floor SSID should be publishing two different SSID. One is guest and the other one is employee. As simple as that. But here is my problem. The guest is okay. We need to map it with VLAN number 999. But employee on the ground floor or employee SSID on the ground floor should be mapped to VLAN number 100 or maybe VLAN number 20, say. If that is the case, first thing first, you must be thinking, Mr. Vishnu, why? Why on third floor VLAN 10 and why on first ground floor it is VLAN 20? And the answer is simple. If you are a network engineer, if somebody says they stretch the VLAN to other building, although I have taken the example here, right? I have taken the example of the same building. I'm saying the network engineer here who is working, he is saying, no, I would not stretch VLAN number 10 from third floor to ground floor. And that is why you have different VLAN here, right? These are the requirements which you have. And now you are thinking that if I want to configure it, and right now I'm taking the example of only two APs. It can be the case that on third floor there are 100 of APs, on ground floor there are 100 of APs, right? How you are going to configure them with these parameters. And Anjali is thinking hard because she is developing. And by the way, I just want to convey a message that whatever the policies structure, whatever the configuration structure we see right now in 9800 series WLC, it is developed over the period. It is not the fact that somebody come here and develop this 9800 series WLC. They have taken the consideration of AirOS WLC and whatever the drawbacks or whatever the problems associated there with respect to configuration, they are trying to resolve it. And this process is actually evolving day by day, right? So now the whole sole point is how or through what things we are going to configure such things. And if you want to see that, let's move to next board. So what Anjali is doing here, Anjali is saying that there is no doubt about it that I need two different WLANs, right? So I need to have something on this WLC through which I can create two two WLANs. One is employee WLAN and the other one is guest WLAN. I know that employee WLAN will be having two different VLANs, right? But I am not concentrating on that. I want that my WLAN should be there. One is employee and one should be guest. And this is what Anjali is thinking, that if I am developing a WLC, it should give me a UI to build or to develop or to make two different WLANs or multiple WLANs. So she has developed that page in the WLC, and through that you can create these two different WLANs. Very, very simple in this point. Now Anjali is saying that WLANs doesn't have any meaning until and unless I map them. WLANs don't have any meaning until and unless I map them with a VLAN. And that is why she is going the provision to create different VLANs. VLAN number 10, because it's a requirement, it is going to be attached with employee. VLAN number 20 and VLAN number 999 because it's a guest VLAN. And now Anjali is thinking one thing, that I have only one WLAN employee, but I want to associate it in third floor and ground floor also. In third floor, it is going to be VLAN number 10. In ground floor, it is going to be VLAN number 20. It is interesting. So Anjali is saying, no, 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 I am not going to create more WLANs because I want to reuse, right, whatever the WLAN I'm creating. And that is what, see what intelligent thing she is introducing. She is saying On my third floor, what exactly I need? I need a WLAN which is employee. There is no doubt about it. And then I need that this WLAN should be mapped to VLAN number 10. I will be attaching VLAN number 10, which I have created here, with WLAN employee. And I will be putting them in this rectangular box, right? This rectangular box is something which is having WLAN employee, which is mapped to VLAN 10, right? And then I can push this rectangular box to this AP and this AP. When this AP gets this rectangular box, what it is going to get? It will be getting that it needs to advertise an SSID, right? Which is employee, and this is mapped to VLAN number 10. It means that when we have a data connection between access point or cap web tunnel between access point and WLC, if I'm sending a data over this data tunnel, when this data reaches here, the WLC will think that this data has come from employee SSID. I need to forward it over VLAN number 10, as simple as that, right? Now, with respect to third floor, there is no doubt that we are good. Now Anjali is thinking aloud. Anjali is saying my third floor problem is done, right? What I need to do to the ground floor? What she is doing? See, she has already created the employee WLAN. She is taking that WLAN once again. And this time she will be associating or mapping this WLAN with VLAN number 20. See how she's reusing whatever she has created. She has created this WLAN only once, but she is using the same WLAN but with some different VLAN for different access points, right? And then she needs that no, on this access point, there should not be only one VLAN. This is not the requirement. There should be one more WLAN, which is the guest WLAN. And for guest WLAN, I am going to map it with VLAN number 999. This will be mapped here and this will be mapped here. And I am going to put them in the box, in the rectangular box, the blue color one. And then I will give this rectangular box to ground floor AP. And here, what it is going to do? Ground floor AP will be advertising employee SSID as well as guest SSID. Similarly here, once it is done and we make a suppose a cap web tunnel from here to here, right? What is going to happen if somebody is sending data over the employee SSID? Now this WLC is going to understand that this is coming from third floor APs or over this pink cap web tunnel. It means that the SSID is employee, but I need to understand that this SSID is mapped to, not mapped to 10. 10 was mapped here. It is mapped to VLAN number 20. I need to forward this data to VLAN number 20. As simple as that, right? The beauty is we are creating these WLANs, we are creating this VLANs and we are mapping them, right? We are creating them once and reusing them again and again. And this is what 9800 series WLC is good at. This configuration is really scalable. This configuration is really usable, right? But until and unless, see, this is the whole soul concept. This is the most important thing which you are going to do. You need to create this WLAN, you need to create these VLANs, and you need to map them. You need to create this container or the rectangular box, and you push this rectangular box to your access points. As simple as that, right? This is the mandatory step in anything, in any wireless configuration when you do it on 9800 series WLCs. But now the point is, until and unless we give them name, right, it is not going to work. Now we have understood why behind things. Now let's give them the name. And I'm going to give them the name, whatever these 9800 series WLC guys are calling them with. Let's discuss, because terms are important. When you go and talk to customer, you cannot just tell that this is what, this is what. You need to tell some names, right? And those names should be standardized name. So whatever Anjali was doing, right? Anjali was creating with respect to WLANs. She has created this WLAN here. We are calling this as WLAN profile. So, enjoying learning? If you have reached till this point of the video, I think you are enjoying learning, and I just do not want to waste your time. I would like to say that if you want to see this complete course, this course is available on my website, which is www.bridgewire.com. Please have a look at it. And along with this course, there are so many other courses available. If you want to start your networking journey from the beginning, from the scratch, or if you are a seasoned networking engineer, please have a look at this website. So you can see here is my website. The link of this website is also available on the description area just below this video. Thank you so much and enjoy learning. If I am saying that Anjali need to create this employee WLAN in WLC, it means that Anjali is creating a WLAN profile. But what exactly this WLAN profile contains? This contains the SSID name. Is it the only thing? No. When we say that we need to push or publish employee SSID on the third floor, we need to also inform how whoever is connected to this employee SSID, how this guy is going to be authenticated, right? Whether PSK.1x and so many things, right? And that is what we are going to define while defining this WLAN profile, how this guy is going to be authenticated. And there are other parameters also, which I have explained in my hands-on videos. Please have a look at that, right? So WLAN profile doesn't only mean that you are just creating a society, you are also specifying some parameters, right? If I'm saying Anjali is creating another WLAN, it means that Anjali has created one more WLAN profile, and this WLAN profile is for SSID guest, as simple as that, right? So these are your WLAN profile. And the important thing is this doesn't have any meaning until and unless you associate it with the traffic rule or VLAN. VLANs are something which are which is the property of your wired network, which is help in traffic moving, right? So Anjali is creating these VLANs, VLAN number 10, VLAN number 20, and VLAN number 30, VLAN number 999, and she's calling them as the policy profile. When you create a policy profile, you need to map a VLAN to it. So this is policy profile number 1, this is policy profile number 2, this is policy profile number 3. See, we are just giving the name now, right? We have understood the concept in the previous board. WLAN profile and policy profile. Policy profile means you are creating the VLAN, right? Now you know that if you match or if you map policy profile and WLAN profile, then it is going to give something which you can push to your access point. And that is what you are doing here in this blue rectangular box. You have taken this WLAN profile, which is employee, and you have taken this policy profile, which is VLAN 10, and you are combining them together. If you're combining them together, this is something which is known as tag, and this is known as your policy tag, which is the mandatory configuration parameter in 9800 series. This is your policy tag. Inside your policy tag, you have your WLAN and you have your VLAN or the policy profile. Once it is done, you can name it any tag like policy tag for Sports India. And then you can push this tag to this access point or this access point. Once this access point gets this tag, it knows that it needs to advertise employee SSID. And when it sends this traffic of employee SSID to this WLC will be understanding that, okay, if I'm getting this message from these APs, it means that I need to forward it into the VLAN number 10 because this is for VLAN number 10 because while creating the policy tag, I have associated VLAN employee with VLAN number 10. As simple as that. Here we have another, or we can call it that this is the policy tag for Sports India for third floor. But what about the ground floor? We need to create another policy tag for ground floor for Sports India. As simple as that. What this tag is going to contain, what this blue color box is going to contain, it will be having employee WLAN profile. It is going to have policy profile of VLAN 20. We are going to merge it. We will be having WLAN guest, we will be having WLAN 999, sorry, VLAN 999, and we need to merge it. and we are going to combine them in a tag which we are calling policy tag for Sports India at ground floor. We will be pushing it. When we push it, this AP knows that we need to advertise employee SSID as well as guest SSID. If the traffic is coming from the guest SSID from here to here, this AP knows that it is for VLAN number 999. If the traffic is coming from this employee, WLC knows that this is the traffic for VLAN number 20. As simple as that. Really interesting, right? This is the why behind policies and tags. This is the most important concept if you want to configure your WLC 9800 series. But exactly how it is looking, let me explain you on the next board, which is I have taken this specific picture from your WLC itself. And I have guided you through in the hands-on video, so please have a look at it. So if I talk about the design phase here, right, or if I talk about the text and profile, what we have just studied, we studied WLAN profile where we have created this employee or the guest WLAN profile. Then we created policy profile. We were where we decided defining your VLAN 10, VLAN 20, 999, and then we are attaching them in the policy tag. And this one, as I mentioned, is absolutely mandatory. We have to configure this for any wireless deployment. We need to configure WLAN, we need to configure VLAN, and that is, we have to, right? Otherwise, if we are not configuring it, then who is going to configure it for our organization? We have to decide what should be my SSID name, how this SSID is going to map to a VLAN. And that is why this step, it is saying this combined thing as WLAN policy, and this is absolutely mandatory. WLAN policy contains WLAN profile, policy profile, and if we combine them, it is going to give us the result which is known as policy tag. But here is the thing. If you want to, if you have one AP and if you have WLC, Mr. Nitin, I'm coming to you. Just wait a minute. Let me complete this. So if I have a WLC and if I have an AP and I say that the blue color box can be pushed here, means we can push policy tag here. But there is a stringent requirement that 3 tags should be there. Tag number 1, policy tag. Tag number 2, site tag. What is that? I will be talking about it. And the third, number 3 is your RF tag. If you want to configure this AP, only policy tag is not required. It is absolutely mandatory to have policy tag, site tag, and RF tag to assign to this AP. How we are going to assign? We can take an AP, we can assign it, all these 3 tags. But as I mentioned, that only mandatory thing is WLAN. And I'm saying that all 3 tags should be there, right? Where is the confusion? So what is the confusion? The confusion is, although they say the other 2 tags, the site tags and RF tags, are optional, but believe me, they are saying it optional because you do not need to create it. You have to create the WLAN profile and policy profile. But if you do not create site policy tags like AP join or flex, the meaning is Cisco can create it for you, right? As a default thing. So if you do not define site tag, if you don't define RF tag, Cisco can do that for you, right? Cisco has done it, all the default things, right? But the question arises here that Mr. Vishnu, what is the meaning of this AP join profile and flex profile? Can you guide us? And it is simple. When we have WLC and when we have this access point, when they connect with each other, they connect with each other using CAPWAP. And this CAPWAP tunnel has some parameters like timings, where I am going to define this CAPWAP. It means that I want how my AP should be connected to this WLC, right? I need to define some parameters, and those parameters I can define in AP join profile. The meaning is how my AP is going to connect with WLC, on what CAPWAP parameters. If I want to configure a username and password on this AP, I can define all those things in AP join policy. Profile. What is the meaning of flex connect? The meaning of flex connect is if I have AP right here, right? If this AP is going to be in local mode, means it is sending entire traffic to a centralized WLC, or this can be in flex connect mode, means it is doing the local switching, right? Interesting. we can define all these things in the site policy or site tag. If we combine them, it is going to give me this site tag. But the whole thing here is we should have the site tag, but it doesn't mean that you need to define it. It is already there. Then you must be thinking, Mr. Vishnu, if that is the case, then what is this RF tag? RF tag means when my access point is advertising this SSID, there are some parameters of this radio frequency, right? How much power? You remember when we discussed about dBm, dBi, and so many things, right? That is exactly all the parameters you are going to define in RF profile. Channel number 1, 6, 11, non-interfering channels, right? What exactly channels you want to configure, right? What exactly power you want to configure, that's you want to define in the RF policy. What is the radio profile? The meaning of radio profile is, you all remember that antenna concept? When this antenna was sending this signal, are these going into one specific direction? You want to beam it or not? All these things you can define in radio profile. Although the controls are pretty less in the radio profile, but you can check it. But these are related to your antenna. These are related to your radio frequency signals, whatever you want to configure, right? And if you combine them together, those are going to give you RF tags. So as I mentioned, if you want to configure an AP, these 3 tags are mandatory. Which one? First is policy tags, which include your wire WLAN and policy profile. WLAN means SSID and policy profile means your VLAN. The second thing is going to be site policy. How your AP should be joined means AP join profile and then the flex connect profile. The third thing is RF tag, how your radio frequency signal should look like, or how your antenna pattern should be, right? That you need to define in radio profile. All 3 things should be there. The 2 things is already configured by Cisco, and that is why they are saying optional. If you do not define them, then the default one will be right there, but you need to assign all 3 tags: policy tags, site tag, as well as RF tag. But in which order you want to go, and that is where I have explained all these things in my hands-on videos. Here is the start button, right? You should start from here, right? And then first thing first, you need to configure WLAN profile, which I mentioned, right? How you are going to do, just click on this and it is going to take you onto the page where you can define WLAN profile. Believe me guys, 9800 series WCLC UI is absolutely fantastic. This thing is great. They have mentioned all these things right there into WLC 9800, which make this configuration fantastic. So I really love the UI which is there in 9800 series, this flow diagram. And you can click and go to that exact page where you want to go. Once you have defined your SSID, you need to define the VLAN associated, and that is where what you are doing with your policy profile, right? If you combine both of them, it is going to give you policy tag. So policy tag done. Then if you want to create AP join profile or flex profile, you can, otherwise it is right there. If you combine them, it's a site tag. If you don't do that, the default one is right there, right? If you want to define your RF profile, you can. Otherwise, Cisco has defined your RF profile for 2.54 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, 6 gigahertz, right? Everything, low density, high density, everything is there. When you go and check it, it will remind you the starting 6th lecture of this course. Then you are going to see this radio profile, RF tag. If you do not define it, it is already there. And then you will be finding your access point and you are going to apply this to your access point. Right? And here the question is, Mr. Vishnu, you are good. You have told everything, but you haven't told one thing, how you are going to assign it to access point. Suppose I have created these 3 tags, policy tag, site tag, and my RF tag. How I'm going to assign it? I have 1000 APs. Shall I go one by one and apply? No. You need to group your APs, right? Although one by one application is one method, you can manually configure all these 3 tags by selecting an AP. For that, you need to discover that AP into the WLC, go into that AP and assign all these tags. I have showcased this method in my video, right? The second way is that if you have, say, 100 APs, what you can do is you can create a location for these 100 APs. Means you can create that these APs are for XYZ location and you add all of your 100 APs here. Once you have added that, all these 100 APs can be identified this location name XYZ, and then on this location you can apply these three tags. When you apply these three tags on this location, all the APs which are part of this access point will get all these three tags. Means these AP will work in accordance with these tags, means policy tag, site tag, and RF tag. You do not need to go to individual APs and apply them. As simple as that. You can identify filter APs on the basis of your regular expressions. Regular expression are the powerful tools with which you can identify your APs. For example, if a AP name is having first floor and there are 100 of APs, you can identify those APs using regular expression. If you know about regular expression, that is good. Otherwise, it's a simple concept. Out of 1,000 APs, you can identify those 100 APs, and then through regular expression, you can assign these three different policy tags to the same APs, which are the result of this regular expression. Having said that, this is what I have with respect to profiles and